I have a quick update on doing fasteners in Onshape. So I was talking about putting countersunk bolts into countersunk holes, which you can see on this part, on that side. Before I do that though, I wanted to just talk about the idea of putting multiple fasteners in at the same time, because as I've been looking more into this, and I've been pointed in the right direction by a couple of friendly forum people. There's a few different ways of doing this, and it's interesting to compare the differences. So I already mentioned the idea of you can select your holes and insert your fasteners. So we go bam, like that. However, there is an easier way in this scenario where we can simply select the entire face, hit insert, and we get every hole at once. But if we do it that way, and then we come back to our part studio and add another hole, come back to our assembly, you can see our hole appears, but there are no extra fasteners there. Now in some cases, that might be appropriate. You want to put your 5 in and then your 6th one is something different. But there are other situations where you might just be changing the number of bolts in your pattern, and you do want the bolts to update automatically. Or you don't want to have to manually kind of change the number. So what I was pointed towards, and I hadn't seen this feature at all yet, is replicate. So if we have a single bolt in our part, and we click on that bolt, and then we say find all of the other holes in this face, we see them all pop into view along those lines. And if we go back to our part, and let's say we remove that middle hole, come back to our drawing, we can see that 6th bolt has disappeared. And similarly, if we were to then put a hole back into that part, go back to our assembly, and we can see the number of bolts here has updated automatically. So I think that's that's really neat. This brings me to the countersunk situation. So let's flip ourselves around, and I have decided that it is really a bug with what is happening with Onshape and these countersunk bolts or screws, and it may be specific to this particular collection of them. Who knows? Maybe the the ANSI or the Imperial ones have got this sort of fixed up. But what the reason that makes me think this is a bug is if you look very closely here, and we compare these two parts side by side. I haven't tried very hard to line them up. But what you can see is that the mate connector on the socket head is on that connecting face. Now, of course, that has to be there so that when you then click on the top surface, everything lines up. But with the countersunk situation, you can see why this aligns incorrectly, that the mate connector here is right in kind of essentially in the center of that bolt or that screw. Now if I put in a longer one, I think what this will show us is that yes, it's consistent, that level of offset. So using that mate connector to align parts is only going to work if you have a plate of exactly that thickness, which to me just doesn't really make sense. So frankly, I think that to be useful, that mate connector needs to align with the end of that countersink, so that we can do the same sort of workflows we use for the standard bolt holes. However, having said all of that, if we come in here and we put our bolt in, oh, something just went wonky. All right, so we have it proud, such as life. We can then come into the fastener alignment, sorry, just the alignment tools, and we can align these to, that was not the wrong thing to do. We want to align the top of the bolt to the top of the face here. So once we've done that once, that's what I would expect the tool to do by itself automatically, but it is really only one step. And so once we've done that, we can of course then come along to our replicate tool, click on our bolt, click on our surface. Hang on a second. Something tells me that the way I've set up these constraints has messed up my example. So let me give that one more try. Replicate that bolt into that face, and it all works fine. So, you know, I think that mate connector positioning could/should be fixed up just to make it slightly more convenient to place these fasteners into these holes. But really, if you're doing it en masse, then using the replicate tool does make that a lot easier anyway. So it's really only a little thing, but yeah, that is something that tripped me up as I was going through some of the details in Onshape for the first time.